Hi, it's Dr. Lori. I'm back with more real bargains. These are the bargains that people are finding at thrift stores, antique shops, yard sales, people just like you who are finding objects, and I'm helping them to identify them properly and find out what they're worth. They're really exciting. So my first real bargain, I have permission from all these folks to retell their stories. My first real bargain comes from a video call. And this video caller said to me, Dr. Lori, I bought this with a huge lot of jewelry and other estate items. It was an estate sale and I bought a lot of objects. I paid a good amount for all of it as a big lot, but if you broke it down individually, I didn't pay that much for each individual item. So I was on a video call with her and she said, I want you to look at a couple things that I'm not really sure of, but I really think that I did pretty well. So she shows me this. This is a hand set in sterling silver, Australian Boulder opal necklace. Now you might have said to yourself, what's an Australian Boulder opal? Well, this particular piece has a lot of similarities. If you looked at it first of all and you said, oh, okay, it really seems to me like turquoise. This particular Boulder opal is really a gorgeous, gorgeous example, and it is a big pendant. Now, you have to like big pendants. I'm not crazy about big pendants because I'm already big and I don't need more big things. But when it comes to value, bigger is good. So when you're looking at this particular piece, this piece has many set elements, right? So you can count up all the set elements, but the important element is that central element. That's right. What to look for? That central element, that big, large Boulder opal from Australia, really gorgeous. And the coloration is important. The colors of the natural materials have to be in concert. They have to be harmonious, right? They have to look similar. They can't be so far afield, because if they aren't similar in color or even related in color, then value goes down too. So you have to think about design when you're looking at these pieces. The piece is set in sterling silver, which is always good, and it's on a sterling silver chain. So the real bargain situation is she's at this estate sale and she said there was so much jewelry, there was so much good stuff that I just said, you know what, I'm going to make my money back, but I'm going to make this investment. She paid $10 for this item, okay? The piece is marked 925 for sterling silver. The piece dates to the latter part of the 20th century. It's very nicely done in terms of its design. And I was very pleased to tell her, just as I tell all of you on my videos, I'm showing you what to look for when you're at the thrift store. You can be a real bargainer too, so I want you to look at these particular videos and let that help you. This piece, $10 is what she paid, and I appraised it. What's it worth? $3,000. That's right. A particularly rare piece in sterling silver, very large, lots of Boulder opals, and of course, this piece, only a $10 investment along with other pieces. If you have the opportunity, you got to snap up these real bargains. That was a real bargain. My next real bargain is something I love. You all know that I love Italy. You all know that I love the Italian design. You all know that I studied Renaissance art. You all know that, of course, Murano is something that I think is wonderful, the great tradition of the glass furnaces on the islands of Venice, of course, 117 of those islands in Venice, Italy, and Murano, of course, the famous glass blowing furnaces. These pieces were a tremendous real bargain. The story that goes along with it is pretty good too. A lot of you are shopping online at online auctions. I like online auctions for a lot of reasons. Why? People overlook good stuff. The same way they do that in a thrift store, they overlook good stuff at the online auctions. So my video caller says, hey, Dr. Lori, I wanted you to check out these pieces along with some other stuff that I've been accumulating for my reselling business. And these particular pieces I really liked. I bought them mainly because no one else was bidding at the online auction. She said they were on the online auction. They came up as a group of 4, and nobody was bidding. So I thought to myself, well, I'm going to just bid $20. That was a mistake. You're like, a mistake, Dr. Lori? $20 for 4 items, any 4 items? Well, what was a mistake is if you had the opportunity to bid $1, bid $1. Don't bid $20, if nobody else is bidding. Anything you bid is going to be good. So anyway, she bid $20 and she said, nobody's bidding and I like these Venetian glass pieces a lot. Here's what I liked about them when I looked at them to appraise them during the video call. I liked that they were mouth-blown, hand-blown glass. I liked that they were various colors. I liked that they were, in fact, the clear glass along with the gold specks, which is very quintessential of what you look for when you're looking at Venetian glass, and particularly also for Murano glass. I liked that they looked very mid-century modern. They had biomorphic or natural forms, organic forms. I liked that too. The other things I liked about it was, of course, the coloration. Particularly in this one, which is, of course, white with the multicolored rods that are utilized here. And the specks are really cool. The gold specks are cool, too. Another telltale sign with these, some would call them bowls. Some people would use them as ashtrays. And, in fact, the other sign that I liked is the bean shape. That bean shape is a very mid-century modern shape, looking like a kidney bean, if you will. So they had a wonderful foundation, lots of nice blown glass work. You can sort of see the attention to detail. You could see the mastery of these particular artisans who are making this in the Murano style of blown glass. I told you that the bid was $20, right, for all 4 of them at the online auction, and the appraised value, or what's it worth, $300 for all 4 of them. She bought them for $20, should have bid a little lower, but they're worth $300 for the set of 4. They're really nice. Technically, they're not a set. I shouldn't say they're a set of 4. They're a group of 4. They're related, but they could be sold individually if she's going to resell them, or you could just say, I'm going to sell them as a lot or as a group. I liked them. I thought that was a real bargain, too. My next real bargain will surprise you. This real bargain is something that lots of people collect, and they're stuffed animals. I think everybody has a stuffed animal or 2 in their home. Some people collect them. Some people poo-poo them. Oh, stuffed animals, they're not worth anything. You know, you have to be careful about, of course, the typical condition issues, no staining, no odors, that kind of stuff. This stuffed animal came from a Goodwill bin. My video caller said, Dr. Lori, I was in the Goodwill Bins. And for those of you who don't know about the Goodwill Bins or the thrift store bins, they relate, in fact, to weight. And they're literally priced by weight. So having them priced by weight oftentimes will give you, of course, very, very low payments, right? Very, very low prices for what you have to pay to get something if you find something good that's in the Goodwill bin. So she said, normally I do not buy anything that has to do with stuffed animals because I don't see that stuffed animals are really going to do very well. But this stuffed animal seemed to be very well made, seemed to be in very good condition, seemed to be made of very high quality materials, and it had its original price tag on it. And the original price tag, right, was what made her buy it out of the Goodwill Bins. So not only did the price tag have the maker's or the designer's mark on it, that tag, but it also had a price tag on it from a store, from a department store. So if you'll notice the tag says Mitsuto Studios of Japan. These pieces, these stuffed animals were made by this premier Japanese designer in the 1990s. It's not that old a stuffed animal. It was in good condition, and what was great about it was made by this designer, and it's really of high quality. Look at the eyes, look at the features, look at the way it really does look like an authentic or real animal. That's part of what you're looking for with these high-end stuffed animal toys. This piece has all that original tags and all that original information, which including the label, which helps to increase the value of it. She was surprised to learn that I found, based on actual sales records, comps, if you will, based on actual sales records, where similar stuffed animals by this design firm sold from Japan. This piece that she paid under $1 for is worth $400. That's right, $400. Personally, I'm not someone who would choose a cat over a dog. I like cats, but I like dogs a lot better. But this particular piece, this cat, she's pricey and she's a real bargain too. She's cute. This next real bargain comes from a video caller, and this was a story that I thought was really interesting because the video caller who bought this particular lot of costume jewelry made by Trifari, she bought this lot, and she bought it at a church rummage sale. So you know those church sales, they start at like 6 a.m. and everybody's there at like 4 a.m. and a lot of folks are doing the donations to the church. And of course they have the sale usually twice a year, maybe they're having it spring and fall, that kind of thing. So this was the second phase. So they had one in the spring and they bought it in the fall. So this particular piece was interesting because the video caller who had me appraise this collection said I was able to meet the person who donated it. The person who donated this piece, it was the Trifari original box. It was the Trifari, what's called polished fan brooch, the Trifari matching polished fan earrings, and of course from the 1960s. Well, my video caller was able to meet the person who donated it. The person who donated it was settling her aunt's estate. She was the niece of a woman who had been a buyer, a department store jewelry buyer in the Deep South in the 1960s. So she was buying all of the costume jewelry for the big department stores. So Trifari, or jewels by Trifari, also known as crown Trifari pieces, were very, very popular. Just as they're popular today on the resale market, they were popular then. I showed you actually that Trifari pieces specifically and other costume jewelry pieces are something that you should buy and not miss at the thrift store. Real Bargains is a lot about what you should buy at the thrift store. These are the pieces that people are finding that are bargains. As you watch the Real Bargains, you're going to have that information in your mind to say, hey, wait a minute, I think I saw something like this in Real Bargains videos with Dr. Lori. I'm here at the thrift store. Maybe I should pick this up for myself. So this particular set is, as I said, polished fan. That's the name, of course, of the design, made by Trifari. It is made in, of course, gold tone metal. It's very characteristic of Trifari, and it's marked. It also has the original tags on it, even the original price tags on it, and that box increases value too. So my video caller got all of these pieces, right? She got the box, she got the pieces, she got the tags, she got everything. She touched nothing, right? She said, I wasn't going to open anything up until I talked to you with the video call, Dr. Lori, which was smart. And she said, I paid $15 for the set. And I talked to this woman. She was fascinating about her aunt's career as a jewelry buyer in the 1960s. I said, that's great. I said, did you keep her phone number? She said, yes, I kept her phone number. I said, I bet you there's a lot more where this came from. It's worth $450 for the set. Costume jewelry, always a good investment. It resells very, very well. And if you have the sets, that's great. I always tell you, protect the tag, protect the box too. The box looks like it has not, the box and the jewelry looks like it just came off the assembly line, I have to say. Looks like it just came off the manufacturer's floor. Beautiful pieces, really, really fine. That's a real bargain too. Check out those other videos about what to buy at the thrift store so you don't miss these kinds of bargains. This next real bargain is from a video caller, and this story is great too. This story makes me laugh with respect to how these people decide how they're going to price an item in the thrift store or in the consignment shop. So my video caller, who was a repeat video caller, she said, Dr. Lori, I learned a lot from my last video call with you. I learned a lot from the videos on the channel, and I wanted to talk with you about this. I go to this consignment store, she told me, and this consignment furniture store basically prices their items based on how big or small the item is. So smaller items, because they take up less space, are priced at a lower value than others. So obviously these people who are running this store don't know the old saying that good things come in small packages, because these people, if it's small, they're pricing it low. I mean, So she says, I go and I look for the small stuff that looks like it's of high quality. I try to learn high quality by watching your videos, Dr. Lori, and then I had forgotten my loop this day. So when I got home, I checked out what the mark said with the loop because I couldn't see it when I was in the store. The price was so low for this nice crystal vase that I thought it looks like a nice form. I can see there's some mark, but she couldn't read it. She said, when I got home and I saw that I got my loop out, then what I did was I realized that it said Saint Louis, or St. Louis, as some people might say. But Saint Louis is a very famous French crystal firm, and they make very high-end crystal wares. Crystal goblets, stemware, they make, of course, vases and such. This vase says Saint Louis, very, very evident, and the bottom of it, it's marked. It's an authentic mark. It's a beautiful vase. It has a nice bulbous body, and then it has a nice flared neck, and then it comes up to the top, flares outward. It's beautiful, made in France, marked as such. That particular firm was established in the 1500s, going all the way back, of course, to the French monarchs. And this particular piece is a beautiful example of course, French crystal making in the traditions of people like Lalique and others. But Saint Louis, very, very popular. So this consignment store that, of course, bases their prices on, of course, size, that store charged her $10 for this piece. Are you ready for what this is worth? This piece is worth $350. That's right. It's about a 7-inch tall crystal vase, $350 retail based on actual sales records where similar French crystal sells. Oh, that was a beautiful find. Beautiful real bargain. This next real bargain comes from a video call, and just like the last real bargain of how they price things, sometimes the thrift stores will just price things very, very low in order to move their inventory. This is what my video caller told me about this experience. She went into a thrift store and she purchased a Trifari gold set. This is a very famous Trifari gold set. This set has a brooch. It has also matching earrings and faux pearls. It's gold plated. The earrings, of course, are beautiful, nicely done. And again, the dogwood flower blossoms are what the features are of this particular set. So she said, I bought the set. I couldn't believe what the price was. I liked the dogwood flowers. I saw that it was gold plated, and I saw that it was that 4-element dogwood form. Now that form actually relates to some form that comes from the Renaissance that's known as quatrefoil, which basically is sort of like a 4-leaf clover or 4 sort of arms. Quatrefoil pieces are very classical designs, and a lot of the costume jewelry designers of the 1950s and 60s would actually use those designs to enhance their work. This set, really beautiful. What did she pay? $9 at the thrift store. That's right, $9 for all 3 pieces. What's it worth? The set is worth $225. It's Trifari, it's marked, it's beautiful materials, and it's a very nice classic design. That was a real bargain too. This next real bargain comes from a video caller who said, Dr. Lori, when I saw the swan, I didn't have to see anything else. I knew what the swan meant because I've been watching you talk about the swan motif and the swan symbolism and crystals with your costume jewelry videos and the research pages on your website, which have helped me identify marks at drloriv.com. So she said, I saw the swan and I knew I was going to buy the swan. I said, okay, so where did you buy it? She said, I bought it at a thrift store, and I bought it at a thrift store not far from my home. And she said, I go there frequently, and oftentimes they'll have sort of a hit and miss. Sometimes they have good jewelry, sometimes they don't. Sometimes I get a piece of glass, sometimes it's some kind of ceramic. It just depends. I have to look around. That's true with a lot of thrift stores. I always say, look around and make sure that you look for the things that I'm teaching you to find at the thrift store. So she says, the video caller says to me, Dr. Lori, this was a great one. I liked this piece so much. It is a set crystal, Swarovski. You've heard of it, of course, the great crystal manufacturer. And then it also had a beak of the swan. The swan is the symbol of the firm or of the company, and they use it as their logo. And you can see that it's marked on the back, and you can see the nice strong pin. Notice where the pin is positioned. The pin being positioned at the top of a weighty figural, heavier figural pin or brooch indicates that that piece is basically going to be secured pretty well if you wear it on a jacket or a lapel or a sweater or wherever you might wear it, a blouse. So that particular piece shows you that you've got a higher end piece. A lot of times, if that bar is in the center of a big weighty piece, then the top of the brooch will actually fall forward. It won't stay up properly. That usually happens in cheaper, less expensive, of course, designs. Swarovski is not doing that. Swarovski, with that, of course, symbol of the swan, which is on the back with the copyright, the pin, stick pin in the correct position, and all of those beautiful set crystals of very high quality, because Swarovski is known for its crystal manufacturing. This piece, a beautiful example of course, the costume jewelry brooches. A nice piece, and it also relates to that idea that Swarovski promoted their own symbols of the firm in their pins. So the swan pin has some gold, again, some gold plated on the beak of the swan, and this piece is a real bargain too. What did my video caller pay for it at the thrift store? $8. That's right, $8 for a piece that's worth $150. $150 is a lot of cash for a piece that she only, of course, invested $8 in. This is a real bargain too. I'm Dr. Lori. How about those real bargains found by people like you? I hope you find your real bargain real soon.